I gotta take this call real quick, and I'll be right back.
Every year, over 100 million people in America come in contact with the criminal justice system. A system that has executed innocent people. A system that regularly convicts the wrong one. A system where it is not uncommon that a person would be sentenced to prison for much longer than what is deserved. Once in prison, the nightmare doesn't end. America's prisons are a cesspool of violence and maladaptive behavior. America's prisons, instead of correcting the problem, often creates it. America has had enough. The people are speaking out against this. My name is Dean DiPiero. I have over 20 years' experience working in the criminal justice system. Much of my experience was gained while I myself was an inmate. Thank you for coming here. In this hour, we are going to explore the topics that matter to wrongful convictions. We are going to interview the important people involved in this movement. And we're also going to laugh. Because sometimes, that's all you can do.
It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance neath the cover of October skies. Yet all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sound of the breezes that blow. Yet I'm trying to please to the calling of your heartstrings that play soft and low. Yet all the night's magic seem to whisper and hush. Yet all the soft moonlight seems to shine in your place. Can I just have one more dance with you, oh my love? Or can I just make some more romance with you, oh my love? Well, I wanna make love to you tonight. I can't wait till the morning has come. Yet I know now the time is just right, and straight into my arms you will run.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for our weekly edition of Injustice Talks. This is where we, my team and I, we get together and we decide, sometimes for better or for worse, what you might want to hear about in the world of wrongful convictions. You know, we inundate ourselves with wrongful convictions. This is what we do. We fight the cases. We report about the cases. I'm so interested in this movement. And so therefore I love talking to the people who are involved in this movement. It's a great opportunity. And the way that I see it actually is that society benefits when we talk about wrongful convictions. Society truly does benefit. And I just want to say at a time like now, that we need to listen more than ever. Hear me out. I believe that a great deal of what we see when we see riots, protests, and unrest, what we're seeing is none other than the symptoms of a broken criminal justice system. It is, or they are, the symptoms of a system. And it is a broken system. And so many, I often can't resist the temptation to tongue-in-cheek call it America's criminal injustice system. Because it truly is a system in that so much of it happens. And we see it also on so many different fronts. Do you know, my friend, when a police officer brutalizes an innocent person, an injustice is happening. You know, we talk about the type of cases where the guy is brutalized because of a long period of time. But you know, the man can serve all of that and more by losing his life when he shouldn't have. That is an injustice. we at Injustice Talks believe that it is our responsibility to do just that, to talk about these things. You need to talk about them as well, though. This is important. This is important that you have a voice as well. I would like you to please consider calling 401-236-4573. And I would like to hear if you have, of course, this is a live show, and if you are like last week and you were one of the 1,000 people that saw it after the live, well, then I apologize that you weren't able to participate in this week's. But do know this, that the name of the show is Injustice Talks, and it is important that you talk as well. This isn't just about me talking. It shouldn't be about that. I don't want it to be about that. That will be boring even for me. So please, you see the number on the screen. Let me hear what you think, because I'll tell you a little more about what I think while I wait for you to call. I believe that there's a more effective way. While you're not calling and I'm talking, and I'm forced to give some reasons for my beliefs, and that is what I should do, at least as a talk show host, I have to hearken back to my experiences in prison. Please forgive me for that. But, you know, it wasn't all that bad, first of all. I'd have you know. For me, it wasn't. And I actually started off the sentence because I had such bad luck, I think, in court, getting 20 years for bank robberies that weren't violent and no one got hurt, and insurance covered it, and they got some of the money back. I mean, 20 years just seemed like a long time. But my luck changed when the Federal Bureau of Prisons decided what prison to put me in. And they put me in, at the time, was the nicest federal prison there was for my security level. The name of the facility is called FCI Terminal Island. Now, it sounds bad, I know, Terminal Island, and it's true that Al Capone had been there, and DeLorean, and a number of other infamous criminals, but really it wasn't all that bad when I was there. It was really nice. And the nicest thing about it was the ambiance. You see, Terminal Island was placed smack middle on a man-made peninsula surrounded by the water, the Pacific Ocean. I would often joke to my friends and say, listen, if we worked an honest life our whole life, we could never have this view. We might have not messed up. It was breathtakingly beautiful. I had a bunk from one prison. Now, don't think all prisons are like this. I could tell you prisons about rapes and stabbings and everything that followed this. Nothing was like this, and that's how my luck works too, by the way. I lose. I'm good at losing stuff. So the place is absolutely beautiful. I have this particular cell where I could lay on my top bunk. I was a young guy, and the young guys got the top bunk at that time. And I would watch these ships, these huge ships, cargo ships coming from who knows where, but coming into one of the biggest harbors in the country, the San Pedro Harbor. And then I would watch them unload the cargo, and it was quite something. Well, there was one day when it was a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. And I was outside just getting some fresh air. And there was a guy there who was doing something he thought was hilarious. Although the weather was nice and it was nice to look at, there was one thing about Terminal Island that was a grave annoyance. And that was the seagulls. The seagulls. Please offend me if there are any little ears around. But you haven't lived until you've been shit on by a seagull. I'm surprised that the people who live on the coast haven't tried classifying seagulls as terrorists. Because I've watched a single seagull take out 4 dudes with just the right curvature and trajectory and everything, okay? Well, I wasn't, I believe there was one I got, but it wasn't, I think my guy had like, I don't know, he was really healthy or something. Didn't eat a lot of fiber, so he just peed on it. But I never really got hit, and I didn't really hate them, but some people did, and this guy must have been thinking something like that when he decided that he was going to make a lasso. And he threw this lasso onto the grass, and then he had bread, and he threw the bread into the center of the lasso, you see. And sure enough, in no time, a seagull was there taking advantage of the bread, while the lasso was getting smaller and smaller and smaller around his unsuspecting feet, or claws, or whatever the hell they're called. Well, then came the fateful moment when the guy yanked and pulled, and the seagull began to shake and try with all of his might to get away. The seagull tried, but he was no contest for a 250-pound man. And so the man single-handedly held onto the string. No, he had both hands on the string, while he was looking back, not looking at the seagull, laughing to all of his friends that he had caught a seagull. He thought it was hilarious. Well, the seagull didn't think it was hilarious. And the seagull began making noises. Noises like I have never heard before in my life, let alone those from a seagull. It was a terrifying sound, to be honest with you. And all of a sudden, what was a blue sky day, it changed. The sky drew black with seagulls. Before you knew it, there were more seagulls in the sky than you could count. Countless. And they were all flying in formation. And they were descending together. Together. The one stopped crying. And that may have been what caused his captor to go from looking at his friends to seeing what might be about to happen. And that is, he looked up and he saw the seagulls, and he obviously was intimidated. The one seagull, he didn't have a chance. But there were enough seagulls there to pick this guy up and take him away. Or make him wish he never caught a seagull. One or the other. What do you think the guy did? Where do you think the story goes? The guy let go. It's human instinct. We let go when we see real, present danger. We let go. And that guy, regardless of how evil toward seagulls his heart may have been, when he saw 1,000 seagulls, he looked at them much differently. So did I. That happened in the year 2000 when I was starting my sentence. And here I am sharing it with you many moons later. I do not blame anyone who's rioting in the street. I'll say it again. I do not blame anyone who's rioting in the street. I have seen cases where the injustice is enough to make you want to go start something on fire. I never have. And when I was the one-time recipient of a minor injustice, I got a lot of time. But that was because of the laws at the time. It never dawned on me to do that because I was already a student of the law. I understand their anger. And I understand also that they have nothing else to do. These are people who have no other way of being heard. I see that. The regular means that they know how to exercise are not effective. There's no one on the other line. And so they are doing this thing that, yes, is wrong, but there has to be a degree of relativity here. Okay, maybe it's too much at one death. But what if this became a policy to kill unarmed suspects? Would then it be okay? At some point, it's okay, is my point, and you must admit that. So the fact that they're too early doesn't discredit their sentiments, not to me. But there are more effective ways. And that's what Injustice Talks is about, too. Is about getting this stuff out and sharing how this stuff happens. That's what we do here. Now, unfortunately, we're new and we have yet not come to the point where we're covering stories dealing with maybe what would be at what started these recent chain of events. We're rather focused on the convictions, right? The wrongful convictions and how people can avoid them. Well, today's show is going to be about how wrongful convictions and criminal injustice is a part of our problem as a nation. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that that is the problem behind everything. If you don't believe me, just start paying attention.
The goddamn nation looks like we always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby. call it treason. With chicken feathers all the way out one nut. God damn it, I'm trying to make it real compared to what suck it to me.
And with me now is Jennifer Lee. Jennifer Lee, thank you so much for being here on Injustice Talks. Now, you've been on the podcast a time or two, but this will be your first time being on with us live since we made it to Hollywood. Welcome, Jennifer Lee, to Hollywood. Thank you so. Oh, good. It is great to have you here as well. And so, as I mentioned in the intro, we are looking at stories today that kind of highlight this proposition that that we are talking about wrongful convictions when we're talking about riots and all of this. So let's hear what you got for the first story. Wow. Well, it looks like we're having trouble getting you on video here, Jen, for some reason. But nevertheless, hopefully, I believe that you are being heard. If someone could just mention if Jennifer is being heard. So, I love that you start there, Jennifer, because we have to start with the facts. The facts. The facts say this tale, or tell the tale. You can't have such a disproportionate number of blacks being the recipients of violence from police and say, well, they receive it more. Okay, yeah, they're getting it more. We know that, but why? Is it that blacks are just so more inherently violent? Well, no, because if we want to delve even further into the statistics, we see that these events that are leading to violence do not justify violence. So it's quickly coming to light that it's the way that the police see black people. And last week I talked about the way Joe Biden sees black people. There are many people who see black people poorly. I'm not going to compare numbers. I just will say that there are people who see whites that way and people who see, so no one should be surprised here, and no one should discredit that this is racism. And yet no one wants to say that, and no one wants to, I don't know how it can't be with numbers like this. What else do you have, Jennifer? Hopefully your video comes on. I don't know why it's not. Well, yeah, absolutely, and the Supreme Court has actually spoken about what does cruel and unusual punishment mean, And the Supreme Court so wisely points out that the concept of cruel and unusual is something that evolves in time. So that we don't use, the electric chair at one time was considered a more humane way of doing it than, say, lynching or hanging, right? Well, then, of course, it went to something else. And this is the evolution of what the Supreme Court calls a maturing society. So don't think that just because we put away, ropes or stuff like that, that the thing that was motivating that has stopped. The problem that we're always going to have is, as long as we have a system that relies on humans, it's going to be fucked up. That's just the reality of it. And what we need is a government that is better at dealing with fucked up people. Now, the government, though, the way the government seems to run it is it seems to go after the wrong people, right? That's what we do sometimes as human beings, is we go after the wrong person. What the government needs to better do is learn how to handle the people within the government, the police, the Joe Bidens, the racists, instead of giving them a pass and trying to somehow excuse their behavior. What the government needs to do is hold them responsible. And there are things to do it. But guess what? While we're, burning down grocery stores or, going to strip clubs, and we're not actually getting involved in doing the things that we need to do, then this is going to be the consequence over and over and over again. Jennifer, what do you have for the next one? Well, in the federal system, they have the counterpart to that is called Unicor. And I am very proud to say, I'm extremely proud to say that in 20 years of federal time, I never worked in Unicor, and I was definitely a conscientious objector. The scheme is really sickening if you know the whole scheme. So it's a corporation that owns this company, and the laws at the time, and now they've even loosened up, where this company can make products and provide services, but can only sell to the government. Okay? This is no regular company. This company pays, where I was at, pays $1 an hour. And these guys would come back from these factories practically on fire. Some of them were welders without the proper equipment. And give $1 an hour, and with really no appreciable skill. Now, welding would be, but most jobs are not welding. Most jobs are just warehousing and working them and trying to work them to death for nothing. I would try sharing with them, but of course at that moment it was just a theory. Now it's a proven fact that if they would instead take their time and study something, I used to tell them, anything, just study it and study it and study it and study it. And if you get $10, buy a book about it. Every time you get money, buy something about it. And you master it. And when you get out, no one can tell you shit about that. And you'll have a job. That was mine. That's what I was doing. That was the strategy I was following. I was in the law library. I was busting my ass. I was studying the law because when I got out, I didn't ever want to be in a position again where I would have to rob a bank. So it's really nearsighted, this whole prison factory thing as well. These guys had the labor jobs available to them when they made that fateful decision to get involved in crime, assuming they're guilty. They don't need that. They need a trade. Because let's face it, with these types of labor jobs, you can't live. And it's hard enough to get out of prison having nothing. They need to get out of prison and be able to make some really decent money. All right, Jennifer, are there any other stories?
Yeah, our last week, instead of secondlife.com, which gets a community, the rest of it all. In 2015, 2006 bill for legislators to hit the right to protest. 15 states passed those laws. What does that do? That restricts us. That restricts our rights. That restricts our right to protest, guaranteed by the Constitution. That reflects the selected the law and order and delivers harsher punishment to protesters. Well, who is the protesters? The working class, the working poor, us. Can you imagine a system that punishes these violent bigots and said? What about a system that kills God and protects the right to peaceful protest? Can you imagine that type of system?
Wow. No, yeah, no, I can't. And yeah, it is true. You know, if you come into this system and you don't have money, but worse than that, you don't have information. If you don't have those two things, you're hit. I say that information is more important than money. I don't make a whole lot of money, believe it or not. I do not. And yet I feel good about being tapped for a legal contest. I welcome the opportunity, as a matter of fact. I'm not intimidated at all by it. That wasn't the case when yours truly was arrested for bank robbery. Okay, I was scared shitless, and being scared, I was very vulnerable. So I say it's not money, it's information. See, when we say money, we assume that money buys you good representation. Well, for those of us who work in this field, we know that that is a crock of crap. That is not true. Money only guarantees that you're going to be short that much money. Fate and connections and you knowing the law and picking the right person and a little bit of luck, all of that determines whether your money is going to get you out of anything or even get you just if you're innocent. But I will tell you what will help you for sure, and that is knowledge. Knowledge. Law is not mystical. This is not. They do not go to some foreign, galaxy to study this stuff. You have access to the same stuff that they have. It doesn't have to be this bad. That's why you listen to Injustice Talks. This is the type of stuff that you need to be about because, yeah, maybe I don't entertain you. Entertain you? Like I even say it spitefully. Maybe I don't entertain you the way that you want to be entertained. But let me tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to fill your brain up. How about that? Can I fill your brain up with information that you can go and take a loved one or someone on one of these pages who is faced with a similar situation? Or now that you know that. Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for being here and for sharing the news, and we will certainly have you back next week.
Thank you for having me.
Against the Odds in Life and Law by genius Dean DePiro is sure to win a Pulitzer Prize. Readers have reported to losing 25 pounds in just the first 2 hours of reading this book. Others have reported coming out of debt before finishing half the book. Marriages are being restored, peace is being brought in the Middle East. And people are stopping to riot just to continue reading Against the Odds in Life and Law by Dean DePiro. Look, there are books that come and go. But then there are other books like the Bible and well Against the Odds in Life and Law. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to come out of debt? Do you want to restore your marriage? Then be sure to pick up a copy of Against the Odds in Life and Law. So says every world leader and God himself.
So Joe is the artist that is responsible for that song, which is called Monster, and it's a wrongful conviction song. And that's really cool because you don't hear too many wrongful conviction songs. Another one is Bob Dylan by Hurricane. If you're interested in wrongful conviction songs, go ahead and find that one and listen to it and let me know what you think. And I would also ask that you share any such songs with me so that I can share them with the world for you. I want to also say this is kind of a small world, but Joe, the artist of that song, he's a Canadian, but yet he's really heavily involved in the wrongful conviction movement. In fact, so much so that he is the administrator of a page, wrongful conviction, I believe, support group. And this last week, I was accused of being a pretending to be a black Muslim woman, and I'm not. So I just want to put that out there. That if you, I know that Joe ended up deleting it and not allowing it to go on because in case you haven't noticed, I am not a black Muslim woman. Actually, today, I really wish I was a black Muslim woman instead of being me today. Rough day for me. But nevertheless, I share a funny little song with you called Imposter while we wait for our guest. So I want to say happy birthday to a couple people. Leslie, the daughter of an associate of Injustice Talks. It's her birthday, and any way that this gets to her, your mother Audrey wants you to know that she loves you. Also, speaking of moms' birthdays and loving them to death, I want to wish my own mother, Teresa, that's right, happy birthday. Mom, I love you so much, and I thank you so much for everything that you have done for me and for my siblings. You are the absolute best, and I thank you so much. And what we have coming up for you is a very special interview, an interview with someone who is both a client, but also someone with really a hell of a story that I am anxious to share with you, and we'll do that when we come back.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me, yeah. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And I'm feeling good.
This is Michael Palmer, and I listen to Injustice Talks with Dean DiPiero.
River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree.
I have got to find a way to get out of France. I was just listening to Injustice Talks and I heard the announcement that Leslie Vass is going to start interviewing former exonerees. It's not that it's fascinating. I know it will be very dangerous going across the ocean on a raft. But it's worth it. I'm not in seek of love nor companionship. What else is there? Money. Stupid. Don't you realize how much those guys get when they get out? Injustice Talks. I cannot thank you enough for giving me the keys out of poverty and into a life of a millionaire. That's why I listen to Injustice Talks.
All right, thank you so much for being with us. So my next guest, David, really kind of deserves, I suppose, somewhat of a long background to explaining how it is that I met David, but we'll get into that as we get into everything. So maybe I would just start here then, Dave. David, if you could introduce yourself and also tell the audience how it was that you and I came to meet each other, I guess. Yes, and it was federal probation. I'll tell you, your story really is, an example of. It's not the big one where you were on death row for 30 years and DNA exonerated you just as they were getting ready to. No, it's not that. But I'll tell you what, it's a smaller mini version of a destructive government force. And that's how I saw the case. Even your friend, I really saw his role as being so minor for, in proportion to the onslaught of such a great federal. I remember growing up, there was the saying, "What do you want to make a federal case about it?" And they really made a federal case about it, and in doing so, to drag you in and to ask you questions. And, this is what they did to Martha Stewart. And, a guy in your situation, you're faced with, well, what do you do? So you go and you tell what you believe to be the truth, and they call it, and what do they call it? They call it a federal case. So then now of course in this system, right? If I said you got probation, then everyone said, "Oh, he's lucky he didn't go to prison." But wait, not so fast. Not so fast at all. The terms of the probation, I'd like you to talk about that. The terms of the probation and what it was this light sentence ended up doing to your life and how it affected your family as well.
Well,
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they're saying that they cannot hear you at all. So could you please call me on the phone and we'll just pick it up from there? For some reason, I don't know that I'm cursed in this. So please, if you could call me on the phone and let us continue the interview from there. Okay, that should that should do it. And you can hear me all right, fine, David? Okay, hold on, let me go ahead one more time. You can hear me all right? David? Yeah, for some reason we're having trouble hearing you though. Okay, one more time. Let me hear you. It's really hard to hear you. Super hard to hear you. Even on a phone, we can't hear you. Yeah, it's super hard to hear you, David. Yeah, it's yes, absolutely. Call me back in 5 minutes. All right, so we are going to take a quick break. While we please bear with me through these technical difficulties. You know, I'll tell you what, this stuff is not easy. Bear with me while we get David on. If not, I'll just pick up his story and I'll tell you about it. And I also have some interesting stuff to tell you about what's coming up with Injustice Talks.
This is Rachel from the UK. From all of us here to all of you there, we wish you peace and healing in these rough times. We completely understand what it's like to have a government that sucks. The last time our government sucked really bad, a bunch of people ran over there and started that country. If you're looking for true freedom, you can do what the Americans did and go steal a country from another people. We love you here in England and we urge you to keep your focus on criminal injustice. That is the cause of the problems. That's obvious even from over here. And above all, make sure that you not only listen to Injustice Talks but subscribe on YouTube.
So we're having trouble getting David back. So I'll just, if I could just pick it up from where he was. Of course, I'm familiar with the case, having won it. So it just so would happen that even though he received federal probation, his skill sets, and here's a man who could actually perform a number of different types of jobs and do them well, they all happen to be of the sort, as luck would have it, where he couldn't do them on supervision. For example, one job required him to travel a great deal, and in order to leave the district, you have to get permission, and to go into each other district, it takes an act of Congress, and you just can't do it. It takes a lot to get it done, and he couldn't get it done. They wouldn't allow him to do it. There were other jobs, overseas jobs that he could have done, couldn't do it on probation. So because he wasn't able to do this, okay, Tony, I see you. All right, Tony, this ain't the only place while you're on a break. All right, get back with me, Tony. I got you. Because he wasn't, able to, well, then where does that leave him? It left him in Home Depot, a part-time job in Home Depot, where he was doing so poorly financially, he had to go on assistance. He had to go on food stamps because of the thing that was meant to make him a more rehabilitated citizen made him a EBT recipient. What in the hell is that? What is that? That's why I bring this to you. Yes, I was able to pull him off of it, but thank God the judge saw the obvious nature of it. But why did it take me helping this guy file a motion? Why didn't the judge just do it on its own? I'm grateful that the judge did, and I do have another matter before the judge. So I probably shouldn't say that. But nevertheless, why does it take that? That's the question, right? What if he wouldn't have met? What if his buddy wouldn't have met me? You go through the whole butterfly theory, right? But still, it shouldn't be like that. This shouldn't happen. Probation shouldn't come and have this stifling effect on a person where they are completely unable to support their family. That is not the way that this thing should go. So I want to really just kind of take a break now and just ask you, who do you see winning? Who's winning around here? And what we see instead of winning, we just see destruction. Guys, there is a better way. There's a better way, and we're going to talk about that when we come back.
Johnny Big Redemption like. Know what I'm talking about? Hold up. Whoa. Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way, yeah. Get out the way, get the fuck up out my way, yeah. You either with me or against me, ho. You either with me or win. Fuck everything else. Win. These niggas ain't shit. Win. Stop chasing that bitch. Win. Big J Rocco on 10. Exit at 4. Bring friend. That black 2 dope. Jump in. You might wanna keep scope. I win. For on tap.
Okay, so how do you win? How do you win, right? That's a question. And I think it's a great question, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that in the context of telling you what me and my team do. And I share these secrets really because, now, yeah, it can probably come across as a sales pitch, but really that's not what it is at all. It is other people can follow this same strategy. I want everyone winning. Everyone needs to win. Win. That is what we need. So here's what we do, and it works well for us. First of all, we use the media. Here at Injustice Talks, if you have a story, some stories will cover for you. Some stories, if they need to be worked on, and all you have is the story, that's all you have, well, then we could talk about that. But also we use community involvement, where I'm very happy to report that Alabama versus Simpson. Woo. Anyone here sign Alabama versus Simpson? I'm seeing Margaret's name. I'm seeing Jennifer's name. I'm seeing Rhonda's name. I'm seeing Debbie's name and Angela's name. I believe you all signed the petition, right? Right? I think so. If you didn't, you still can. There is still time to sign the petition. And what the petition is the petition is aimed at the prosecutor. This is the person who's going to represent Damian Simpson when this thing goes to court. And it's going to go to court. Just today, me and my team, we finished what we needed to do in terms of the brief and the memorandum. We were doing a draft. We're working with an attorney. We're fortunate that we were able to find an attorney who is working with us. She was kind of already involved in the case, but we're going to bring her on probably next week to talk about that. And I should have some news also about the case. From what I heard, this should be set for a hearing pretty soon. So if you are, I want to need to find out. There it is right there. Change.org justice. Now it's pronounced Damien, but it's spelled Damon. If you're looking for it. But justice for Damien. We still need more signatures, but we're very excited to say, as I said, that we have finished the paperwork, and that obviously is what gets the person out. It's the paperwork. It isn't the Injustice Talks. It's not me crying about a case. It isn't any of that, but rather it is the fighting in the case. That is what does it. So that is what we do as well. So we take those three things. We take the media, then we take community involvement, and then we also take litigation, and we bring those things all to bear on one case. That's a lot of force. It's a lot of power, and we do that because that helps us to win. Hey, listen, thank you so much for being with me here today and this week. Please do. I'm going to play this ending for you. And if you've never heard the ending to Injustice Talks, I want you to really pay attention to this. I really think that you're going to like it. And it really speaks to our times and where we're at right now. If you have any questions, if you want to comment about anything, please, as I say, I want to put that up one more time. We always have this on for you to leave a message. Actually, sorry, two things. First, let me share this with you. This is the number. This is the Injustice Talks number. We had to change that. Why? Because this week, around the same time I was accused of being a Muslim woman, someone said our phone number was to the Actual Innocence Project, and it's definitely not that. This is our number, however. This is the number for Injustice Talks. Why don't you call that number? Call that number, and as we say, take the first. What that means is we want you to please call and share your opinion about anything dealing with a specific case. You can talk about a loved one's case. You can also just talk about what your opinions are of the criminal justice system, or maybe one thing, or maybe the riots. There's so much to talk about, and we want to hear what you have to say. Also, we need your help. We really need your help. Please subscribe on YouTube. All right, now listen. This is a promotion that we're doing, okay? And there was one who slipped through the cracks who said that they didn't, but we're all set now. After this show, following this show, okay? If you have not received the book, if you have received the book, then I say do me a solid in return, because I have given it to you. Subscribe, please, to us on YouTube. If you have not subscribed and you have not gotten the book, well, then I would say to you that that by all means, you need to do this. You need to subscribe. You heard the comedy skit either. People are losing weight, people are coming out of debt, and marriages are being restored. That is not true. None of it. But I'll tell you what would be true, okay, is if you got this book, you would be inspired. You would be so inspired. This is a story about how I fell in love with the law when I myself was an inmate, and how that was such an event that really led me to really just kind of taking this thing all the way to heart. I mean, all the way. What I mean by that is I fell in love with fighting for people who were wrongfully convicted. And in the book, I share a few stories of some of the cases that I won while I was in prison. And I bring you actually into the case, like I try to do here, where you can see what we're dealing with, you understand the issues, and you get involved. Now, these are, of course, cases there's nothing to get involved in now because they're already won. The work was done. But it is certainly interesting. It was interesting to do the audiobook. I myself narrated it. If you could stand my voice a little longer, then I will send you that book, as long as you subscribe. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. I would greatly appreciate that. All right, so we are going to take you to the intro. Conclusion.
The views and opinions expressed by Injustice Talks are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Injustice Talks. Any content provided by our podcast or our authors are their own and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Furthermore, information given in Injustice Talks is for the public, and none of it should be deemed legal advice for any one given case.
Things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar by the nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers sweep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do and there's no end to it. You know, the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. Sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change. How many stations is this going on? You've got to get mad. I know it was to Louisville, Atlanta. We're not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this.
Genti che passeranno, oh vela ciao, vela ciao, vela ciao, 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 e le genti che passeranno non mi diranno che bel fiore.
Against the Odds in Life and Law by genius Dean DePiro is sure to win a Pulitzer Prize. Readers have reported to losing 25 pounds in just the first 2 hours of reading this book. Others have reported coming out of debt before finishing half the book. Marriages are being restored, peace is being brought in the Middle East. And people are stopping to riot just to continue reading Against the Odds in Life and Law by Dean DePiro. Look, there are books that come and go. But then there are other books like the Bible and Well Against the Odds in Life and Law. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to come out of debt? Do you want to restore your marriage? Then be sure to pick up a copy of Against the Odds in Life and Law. So says every world leader